And welcome to Mike Sports. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by Jay Landry. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Good to hear it.
Cowboys and Eagles fans.
That's right.
Who thought we'd ever meet on a screen and not through
next,
fists?
next thing you know, cats and dogs will be living together, and it's
Right.
pure craziness. So tonight, I thought we had a good first episode, as I have. But tonight we want to get into a little bit of the rankings. We want to talk, how we see this NFL right now, like teams we think are going to be the top 10 teams to be looking for. 8 teams from each conference make the playoffs, and we want to talk a little bit about what those teams, what those playoffs may look like in January. Never too early to start thinking about it.
Yeah. And on top of that, I'm not sure who's paying attention, but the recent study proves the Dallas Cowboys still have the best fans according to study. So the rankings came out today, and it says best fandom in the entire NFL. And I'm reading this on NFL.com, the news report. Dallas Cowboys number 1, New England Patriots number 2, Philadelphia Eagles number 3, New York Giants number 4, Pittsburgh Steelers number 5, Green Bay Packers number 6, Denver Broncos number 7, Chicago Bears 8, 49ers, that was a surprise to me, number 9, and New Orleans Saints at number 10. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you know what? Like you said, 9 of those teams don't surprise me. Those are teams that travel well, have a strong history. Teams like the Green Bay Packers, who always do well in these kind of polls. The New Orleans Saints have a wild fan base. It's funny. The one team that doesn't seem to fit that narrative, it's not I was shocked when you said them.
Yeah. First of all, the New York Giants, from a Cowboys standpoint, we've always known them down here as being rowdy. There's always fist fights when they get there. And I'm not saying, obviously, the Cowboys fans aren't crazy and don't cause half the stuff that happens to them. But it just seems like whenever you play a New York team in any capacity, there seems to be more fights and more rowdiness.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, New York teams. And trust me, it's going to my fair share of Eagles-Giants games. That's a New York trait. In fact, at one point, I believe it was in the 90s, the NFL had basically stopped doing Eagles-Giants at 4 o'clock because fans were showing up there and getting too drunk, and then too many fights in the stands because their game's starting at 4 instead of 1 o'clock with 3 extra hours of drinking. And so they said, well, let's get them in the stands at 1 o'clock instead.
Yeah, so check this out. Look who ranks last, 32. The Los Angeles Rams, a team that just went to the Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
Isn't that odd? I think it's odd, yeah.
If you'd asked me who I thought would have been last, I would have said the LA Chargers. Just because San Diego doesn't like him. LA doesn't seem to care. Where are their fans coming from? I would have guessed them to be the last place, number 32.
Yeah, no, totally. I totally agree with that.
So, yeah, wow, the Rams number 32. I'm curious as to who's their bottom 5.
We got Los Angeles Rams, Kansas City Chiefs, Tennessee Titans, Jacksonville Jaguars, Cincinnati Bengals, and the Cleveland Browns inched out of the bottom 5, believe it or not.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so the Chargers not even in the bottom 5. I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's weird. I think California teams are kind of hit and miss, it's like I think the fans just feel like their teams have moved around so much. They're always pissed off at their own teams.
Yeah,
you
right?
get the Chargers moving. The Niners are really the only stable team.
Yeah, and I mean they had that long sustained success in the 80s and then carried it over into the 90s. But by the end of the 90s, man, they have been dreck really since then. They had the one Super Bowl appearance, in the 2000s, but really, other than that, man, that's been a franchise in disarray.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's always going to be.
They won't be in my top 10 this year. When we go to that little spoiler alert.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like, well, my deal. I've always said I think the Chargers are a joke. I think the Chargers are always overrated. I think the Chargers.
Yeah.
They're a good regular season team, and they're the Houston Rockets of the NFL. I mean, we can play ball until you tell us that if we don't play ball good tonight, we don't get to move forward, then we're like, well, hell with this. We don't play ball no more. Like that's the way the Houston Rockets play.
Well, if you have to put pressure on us, then we don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I always said it's like Harden. It's like in the playoffs. It's like someone shaves his beard off, and he has no power because we all know his beard is the only
power does come from his beard. That's
exactly.
Pretty crazy.
So moving into ranking the teams, I'm gonna run through my teams, but and I'll discuss the top 10 if you want, but I think I'll just run down my 32 list, but we'll actually discuss the final 10 teams and just, so my worst team on my list is the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
And I'm going to go Arizona Cardinals next. New York Giants. Love it. Eating that up. Cincinnati Bengals. I got Washington at 28. Oakland Raiders at 27. New York Jets at 26. Denver Broncos at 25, Tampa Bay at 24, Detroit Lions at 23, which is, I didn't even know where to put them, to be honest with you. Tennessee Titans 22, Carolina Panthers 21. And did you hear about Cam Newton offering a guy like $1,200 on a plane?
I did. Like, I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
Seattle Seahawks 20, Baltimore 19, Buffalo Bills 18. Atlanta Falcons 17. I know when we talked last, we had them ranked higher. I do in the division, but not overall.
Right.
San Francisco 16. I think San Francisco is actually going to have a good year. Minnesota Vikings 15. Pittsburgh Steelers at 14, which is probably a surprise to everybody. Houston Texans, I got them at 13. I think they're going to be competitive this year. I especially down here, we're all pissed off about Whataburger being sold to a Chicago. So now we got this fire in us. And JJ Watt wants to buy the Whataburger franchise. So I think we got Jacksonville at 12. Kansas City.
Hoping that means they'll expand Whataburger and bring it to the East Coast.
Yeah. Got Kansas City at 11. That's probably a surprise too.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you start with the top 10. Like, let's start at number 10.
Okay. So let's see. Who do we have left from that? Because put me on the spot here. I'll say the New Orleans Saints, number 10.
Okay. Let me ask you this. We talked about it a little bit in the last segment. Do you think the New Orleans Saints have a hangover?
Yeah.
A mental hangover, or do you think they're over it?
No, I think they're definitely still very much, in that moment. And look, as somebody who diehard Eagles fan, I've been one to hang on to moments that didn't go my way, and nothing good ever happens from that. And so I just think they needed to turn the page. I don't think they, as an organization, still have. It just, to me, I do think there will be a hangover. There's a lot of talent on that team, and maybe it's a little bit of the fan in me that wants to see them have to play. The way they came at the Eagles at the end of that game and were very disrespectful towards the Eagles. Yeah. Not only after that game, but in the previous matchup that they had, and then some of the comments that were made during the last offseason. I remember after that playoff game, knowing that the Eagles and Saints aren't playing this year in the regular season, I said, man, I really hope somewhere down the road we have to play them in the playoffs again next year, and we can just I really hope the Eagles get another crack at them.
I think for me, when it comes to the Saints, the way I look at them being having family, obviously from Louisiana with my last name, I don't share in their pain because number one, I think what was it the previous drive? The Rams were on like the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, it's not, you act like you played ball the whole time and you never, there were a couple bad calls where the Rams actually should have had the ball again. Oh, that's what it was. The previous drive, They missed a face mask, which would have put them on the 1 yard line. And we all know they would have smashed it in and scored. But you don't see them wanting to hire an optometrist to get a good look at that because they had billboards everywhere. Even in Texas, they put a couple right over the border about when you're crossing into Louisiana about it. I mean, they were egregious about it. Yeah.
I think I can hold on to some grudges. I can get pretty fired up over football games, but man, we got to let that go. That's
I'm going to go with my number 10. My number 10 is the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
I think they're competitive just because of who they have as a quarterback. but I don't know. I think I think Rodgers and the new coach are going to be filling each other out during the season, and I think we're going to see some snafus between the two of them. Not necessarily in personality, but in play calling. I think that we're going to see some things that doesn't work with Rodgers, and whatnot. We're going to see some adaptation going on. So I
I
have them at
definitely
number
think
10.
the Packers could be one of those teams that's better towards the end of the year. That like basically everybody in the NFC better hope that they don't make the playoffs because I think they could end up peaking around playoff time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, anytime you got a quarterback like that, he's the kind of quarterback that rises to the occasion. In fact, I used to say a long time ago, the Cowboys could only win with their backs against the wall. Like you had to pressure them; they had to be playing from behind to win a game. If they played ahead, they got cocky and they blew it, and you would just, you'd follow up. My number 10 team, or my number 9 team, is the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, I like that.
I think 9's a
I was
shitty
going to go
number.
Packers 9, but yeah.
I think 9's a shitty number. I think Cleveland's kind of shitty. I just think it kind of dog pound. I hope. I hope. I like Jarvis Landry a lot. I'm not an Odell Beckham fan at all. I call him the biggest crybaby. There's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in football, and he's like the epitome of it to me.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
But I love Baker Mayfield. I was a big pusher of his, especially after he proved himself. I like his moxie. I like the fact that he plays by a different tune. He marches to his own drum. I think because of that, that team will always be competitive. I wouldn't say in any league form do I think they're a Super Bowl contending team, but I certainly think they can fight for that first round, probably playoff spot. Maybe win it. Probably going to lose it, but they definitely can probably get in that first slot.
I think this is one of those spots where when you look at good teams, like we could look 5 years from now, and Cleveland's a real powerhouse, and we look at this as when they got their first taste of the playoffs. Like I think they could be on a team knocking on the door where they're not quite ready to ascend to that upper echelon, but this is where they let the NFL know we're coming.
And they were close last year. I mean, you're talking what, 2 games? If they would have won, they would have been in.
Yeah, and it's funny because right there at the beginning of the season, if they had had a legit kicker, they would have won both games. I mean, they're your 2 wins right there, first 2 weeks.
I got. Let's see, where are we at?
We're number 8 next.
Number 8. I got the Chicago Bears at 8.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. My reasons are I just think they're clicking. I think they got the right coach. I think they got the right quarterback. A lot of people thought Trubisky was just a bad pick and overall. I said, no, I think he's exactly what they need. If you've ever noticed something about Chicago Bears, they have never been like totally quarterback dependent as an organization. They're more of a little bit of everything kind of team.
Yeah.
They just kind of bring it when they're stable, and when they fall apart. I mean, they've had some really good guys. Some guys are true Hall of Famers on their team before, like Jay Cutler. Just kidding. But I think that Jay Cutler was that they hung on too long. They got that hangover feeling, and they just made a complete turnover change in coaching and whatnot. And I think they did it right.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's funny, and I know I brought this up on some other shows that I do. I looked at the Bears last year in the 2018 season because I tried to look at, the Eagles in 2017 kind of came out of nowhere. Some people thought they might be pretty good. They didn't know they were going to be that good and they were going to win a Super Bowl. Yeah. And I tried to look around and thought, who do I think could kind of be in that same mold? And I looked at the Chicago Bears and said, well, at that time, second-year quarterback, second-year coach. It maybe, it could be an area where they could be clicking. And I thought this could be a good spot for them. And I think, again, like coming into this year, they got the taste of getting to the playoffs. And, hey, look, they're one double doink away from getting to the second round. And who knows what happens if they have to go to, I think they would have gone to Los Angeles. And, it could have been the Bears right there.
Right. Who do you got after them?
I have the Browns next after that. So we just
Browns are what, 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, same reasons you said. They're close, but not quite top 5 ready, but they're close.
See, I put the Chargers at 7.
Okay.
That's why I said they can never break into that top 6 or the final 4 playoff games, but they can break into the mold of getting in like the first round, and then they just seem to get wiped out every time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have them there.
Okay.
I personally don't think they're that good of a team. I just think they have a good quarterback. They have decent coaching. not stellar coaching, but they have decent coaching. So I can see them being competitive. I just can't see them taking it.
Yeah, I look at the Chargers and I say, man, they have a solid roster. But just for whatever reason, something always happens to them, whether it's being riddled with injuries or
I think the
just
Colts and the Chargers are very similar, actually. Great quarterback. They seem to have talent here and there sprinkle around, but they can never just kind of pull it together.
And I love the Colts a lot. And you're going to hear me talk about them later on in the top teams conversation because I love what the Colts are doing in Indianapolis. But
when I lost all faith in the Colts, and I think they had a totally different coach then. They made that round in the playoffs that year, and they played the Patriots, and they got beat 41-6 or something.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, man, they just don't, when it comes to playing an elite team, they just can't bring it. And the only reason they ever brought it was because of Peyton Manning. But unfortunately, you don't have the Peyton Manning and Dungy connection then anymore. You have another coach and a great quarterback. Number one, I just don't think the coaching is good. And then on top of that, I just don't see it. I don't get that good feeling oh yeah, these guys are something to mess with. I think the Texans will beat them around during the regular season pretty good, and so will the Titans probably, even though those two teams may not even make the playoffs. I think they're the ones who are going to ding up their record.
You could be on something there. I kind of wonder if some of Andrew Luck's numbers are padding his numbers against some lesser teams. I saw him in person in was it week 3 last year against the Eagles, and it was. I'll tell you, I wasn't that early on. I thought, man, the Eagles are going to run away with this game. And Andrew Luck played well, but there was just times where I was just like, man, does he not have the arm strength? And I know he was still kind of semi-recovering from his shoulder injury. Yeah.
Well,
but
we'll see.
we're going to see. It's now been a full off season now that he gets to be with his guys. Last year he was rehabbing. I think when you look at some of these teams at the top, it might be guys who, had come off injury last year and now are going to have gotten a full off season with their guys, have gotten to go through all the regiments that a coach puts out.
Yeah.
And I think you can see him take that next step. And Andrew Luck's one of them, I think, that could take that next step.
All right, who you got ranked next?
What are we at here?
6, I think. Yeah.
I'm trying to do process of elimination here.
I'm gonna put the Rams at 6.
Okay.
I think they're still can play ball, but I think they are going to have the Super Bowl that year where you just suck the following year. You're not near as good. Kind of like the Atlanta Falcons had.
Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be times where that sneaks in there, where it's.
I think they're a first-round playoff
hangover.
Team. I think they get knocked out in the first round this year. Mm-hmm. I think they're a lot like the not coaching talent-wise like the Colts, but I think they're going to have a very similar season.
Sure, that up and down, and you're kind of at points in the season wondering, gosh, what happened to the Rams? Is this the Super Bowl hangover? Well, at the end of the year, I think we're going to be saying, yeah, it kind of was the Super Bowl hangover.
And I think some people are going to look at Belichick's strategy and go, so this is how you beat McVay.
Yeah.
And there's more tape on McVay and his strategy now.
McVay was such the boy wonder. He was the golden child after last season. If you were seen having a latte with McVay, you were given an interview for a head coaching job.
Well, they passed me up, so that pisses me off.
Yeah.
Okay, number 5.
All right, number 5. Now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Oh gosh, who do we have left? Seattle. I would say Seattle there.
You think so? What do you think Wilson has besides himself?
I think they have a plethora of running backs. That defense is still pretty good. They're not quite what they were, but I think with the Rams hangover and playing the 49ers and then playing the 49ers twice and the Arizona Cardinals twice, that's going to be 4 wins for them right there.
I think this is where you run into. And I'm with you. I have Seahawks very similar ranked. This is where you run into that philosophy difference. Okay, so we're in an offensive league now. So what does that say about defensive coaches? Does that make their teams worse, or because they're a defensive coach, that's what you want, being that you're in an offensive league now? I've heard arguments on both sides why if you're an offensive coach, you're more likely to win games. If you're a defensive coach, you're going to fall apart now because you're facing juggernauts and the league's, leaning towards their side now. But then you have the opposite perspective where people say, well, if you're a defensive coach, you're going to be best at preparing to slow down offensive juggernauts.
Yeah, and look, I get both. I get both ends of it. To me, I look at it sort of, and maybe this is a cop out to that question, but I like the overall kind of CEO type in that role, like the guy who doesn't have to just lean all on one side of the ball. Like he's got a balance to him. Um, even if like say he was an offensive coordinator, like an
Like
Andy
a
Reid, I think
Belichick,
that,
someone who's
yeah,
kind of
well,
involved in
yeah,
everything,
Belichick.
or Andy Reid.
Yeah, both of those guys who, like, yeah, they might have their tendency to one side of the ball, like that's where they came up with, but they can manage both sides and they have a sound strategy. Like they put their guys in place, they let them run their offense or defense, and they just kind of oversee everything, make sure nothing gets out of hand. That's where I think Belichick does a great job. He knows how to work his assistants and let his assistants do their jobs.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm kind of like I get mixed. I think to me, I'm more situational. I'm more like depending on what team you play is depending on what coach I'd rather have. Um,
Right.
if you play McVay, I think you'd be a better defensive coach to have a defensive coach at your head. So I think
Yeah, somebody
Seattle.
counteract what he's doing on the
Yeah, I think
offense side.
Seattle is a better match for the Rams
Yeah.
than anybody is because of who their coach is. Like Pete Carroll is a defensive coach. What sucks about that is you have a great freaking quarterback that I just don't think you've ever given a true weapon to in
Right.
your entire time of being there. You've sprinkled some Grams in there. You
Mhm.
sprinkled some guys that are medium talented or whatnot, but you've never given him a superstar. And like an Amari Cooper joining the Cowboys, like it changed the
Right.
dynamic of our team as soon as he entered the picture. I just see that Seattle needs something like that so Wilson can really start. He needs to get people, if he's going to run the ball or if he's going to use those legs that he's good with, I'm like, well, you got to get people, running post routes and down the field so he's got space in case he needs to break out.
Sure.
Of course, you want to pass more. It's a passing league, but I don't know. The Seahawks are like a puzzling team to me because they really lean heavily towards defense, but they just dumped a ton of cash on a quarterback who, if you give him some talent, your offense can be equally just as good. I just don't think Pete Carroll can lend himself to do it. He just won't bite the bullet and go big on offense.
Yeah, I agree. Pete Carroll, like I really feel like he's one of those guys. He believes in quarterback who can, find the open guy. Doesn't need an elite receiver or elite tight end. He's not looking for that playmaker on the outside. He's looking for his strong quarterback who can distribute the football, and he wants a solid running game. And that doesn't have to be with a feature back. That just has to be with a collection of backs. Like, I mean, how many guys like carry the load? If you were a fantasy football player, man, and you were trying to choose a Seattle running back, good luck, because one week it was, it would be Carson carrying the ball like, for 100 yards. And then the next week he'd get 2 carries for 10 yards. So,
Yeah.
and there didn't seem to be a rhyme or reason to it.
Well, and it's crazy because when you think about Pete Carroll coming from USC, which was an offensive juggernaut,
Right.
you're kind of like, how the hell did you piece that team together? Well, I'm like, well, California's a big state, a lot of talent. Florida. I mean, what do you got? You got 5 states when it comes to college anyways. You really got Pennsylvania, Ohio, and then you got Florida, Texas, California. And then
Yeah.
everybody else just kind of
Really
sprinkles. Those are like the 5 states that matter. And no one else cares about your other states. Unless you throw Alabama in there, but that's just because of the coach that went there is why the talent goes there. Yeah.
But it's not, yeah, I was going to say, if you look at Alabama's roster and where those kids come from, it's not all from the state of Alabama. In fact, like a Nick Saban can walk into any living room and he can make a pitch. And
did you know that
if he
64%
wants to, he'll get you.
of the talent in college football comes from my zip code?
That's
Houston zip
crazy.
code. Yeah, it's the speed. We have all the speed demons in here. Us in Florida, we have all the speed people. I think Pennsylvania and Ohio are known for pumping out the quarterbacks and linebackers and all the speed boys. It's something about our. I think it's our climate. I mean, look at me. I got second in the 100-meter dash in state, and I'm this white guy. It's 5'7", but something down here in the temperature or something made me fast. I don't know. Well, I do have some Louisiana blood, so no telling what happened with the milkman or something. But something made me faster than others. But where are we at? 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So for me, 4 is the Cowboys.
Okay.
Because I think the Cowboys are on that outside of the shell where they just can't crack that piece. And my belief is because of Jason Garrett. The team is ready to go. I think we just don't have the right coach in place. Like I said last segment, I think we have 2 coaches that are going to fill that spot. I think Sean Payton will be lured into the Cowboys, or Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma will be the 2 guys that Jerry Jones is going to tap if he lets go of Garrett, which I think is inevitable anyways. I think that the better pick there, a lot of people, if you don't know this, Sean Payton, his children go to school in Dallas. So right. Sean Payton, and he's been a part of the Cowboys organization before. So there's already a Jerry Jones connection there with Jerry Jones. That they're good friends. They talk on the phone often. Lincoln Riley, I think, just if he wants to naturally come up to the NFL, my whole thing is if I'm an established college coach with a good program, I'm never leaving. Because in college, they will worship you and keep you there for 25 years until you're done. And in the NFL, it's high pressure, and the salaries really aren't that much freaking better. Nick Saban makes as much as the mid-tier NFL coach. Why the hell would you leave?
Right, and he knows, like, Nick Saban could show up there tomorrow, and they could stink for the next 10 years, and he can just look back and say, "Yeah, well, remember the previous 7."
Yeah, exactly.
And he'll be fine.
Colleges hold on to glory. Yeah. NFL teams, we are short-tempered, and we're like, you ain't getting it done, you're out. We're more like business-oriented. We're not spirited. We're definitely more the business.
Football is all about the coaches, because the coaches stay there and the players move on. The longest guy can stay there is 4 years.
Yeah, I think other than the Patriots, in college, it's all about like your empire, your dynasty, your legacy. In the NFL, it's get it while it's hot, because it's going to change over in like 3 years unless you're the Patriots for some reason. Yeah. That's pretty much what it is. I personally think the Patriots are good because I think Giselle secretly suits up in the freaking outfit. Brady's at home watching TV, and that chick's out there doing handstands, and I think you just have to put the camera in slow motion to see that it's not actually Brady. Of course, that's my theory.
You might be onto something. We'll have to check that out.
But I think the Cowboys, I have them at number 4 because I really think Amari Cooper and Dak are going to come into their own. I think now they're synced up right. They've played enough football together. They can actually do what they need to do now. We'll see with Dak right now in his contract. He's got the Cowboys, to me. The Cowboys that made a mistake, in my opinion, by not getting him a contract sooner, because now there's been a president.
I was saying, I'm glad you're saying this, because I was saying the same thing for the Eagles to make sure they got Carson Wentz's deal done, because I wanted them to get his done first, before Dak Prescott, before Jared Goff.
They made a bad move in waiting this long because now the bar has been raised, and Dak can basically say a couple of things. Now, the Cowboys' argument is, hey, if we were to not sign you, there's maybe only 3 or 4 teams that would even try to pick you up. That's the argument for the Cowboys. The argument against the Cowboys is, yeah, we actually like you, though, and we want to keep you, and you fit our scheme that we built around, so we need to pay you. And he can go, okay, cool. So since you had me for 3 years, for McDonald's money, now I want to be paid big bucks. And here's the bar that's been currently set by Mr. Wentz over there on the Eagles for me.
Yeah. And he can say, and it'd be accurate for him to say, hey, look, Carson Wentz, while he's got some gaudy numbers from the 2017 regular season, dude, he's never played a playoff game, and he's making $32 million a year. So what do you think I'm worth when I played all of our games and I've won a playoff game?
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I honestly, when it comes to the Jones family and money, I mean, it's unpredictable. I've seen them go big for reasons that are unknown to me. And I've seen them tell a guy, go shop at the dollar store. We're not paying you that. So to guys that I'm like, give them the money. So we'll see how that goes. Stephen Jones is really the negotiator more so than Jerry is when it comes to this stuff. He's kind of the math guy. If you've ever watched Cowboys Hard Knocks in, I think it's, I want to say 02. No, I'm sorry. No. It's 08 and I think 2012. Somewhere in there, something like that. Or maybe 05 and 08. I know they did the Cowboys twice. I have all the Hard Knock seasons. Mm-hmm. And anyways, if you watch in there, you can slowly see that Stephen Jones starts becoming the negotiator further and further as
Right.
Hard Knocks filmed them. So you can tell Jerry Jones is handing a lot of that over. But, he's still the final say. But I think basically he's put a lot of trust in Steven because he's going to be the one that takes over, obviously. At number 3, who did I have at number 3?
Well, who do we have left?
Did I pick the Saints already? I can't remember.
I thought, yeah, you mentioned them already.
Okay. This is a tough one. To me, there's a couple things that rub up here. So if I didn't pick the Saints, then I had the Saints and I had the Eagles next. I had the Eagles at number 2.
Right.
I think the Eagles, if the Eagles play sound football, I think they're going to take the Cowboys or the Saints down come championship time. Once we change coaches and we're on our second year with that coach, that's when I think we can beat y'all.
Okay.
So basically, any segment we do, I'm going to have the Cowboys, unless the Cowboys come out and show me something I've never seen before with the team we currently have. And we'll see, because Zeke's contract's up next year. So we got a lot of money that's about to slam us.
With the home runs that you got from Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, while that was great to land those two guys in the draft, then now their contracts, they both need a contract around the same time. So
now let me ask you this. I know we're talking about number 3 now, but if you had to say who's more valuable to the Cowboys, Dak or Zeke, who would you go with?
Gosh, my gut instinct is to say, whenever you ask a question, who's more valuable, player X and the quarterback, always take the quarterback.
Yeah.
Especially in today's league. And you know what? I think I'm going to stick with that. Dak is still, even though Ezekiel Elliott is the straw that stirs their drink,
yeah,
Dak Prescott has to be on. If the Cowboys are going to take that next step, it's going to have to be Dak Prescott has to take that next step.
Yeah. I would go with Dak, but it would be a hard choice for me. I love running backs, and I think they're undervalued when you get the right one. I think they make all the world of the difference on the team. I mean, when we had Murray, look at what Barkley's doing on the Giants. But the problem is if you look at all these teams, the great running backs, they don't win Super Bowls. So being a great quarterback or running back is enough. Being a great quarterback can be, even with a mediocre team. But I think what taught me everything about Dak, there was a moment, I can't remember who we were playing. It's off the field, too. He's on the sideline. He's drinking a drink. He crumbles up the cup, goes to throw it in the trash can while he's sitting on the bench, and he misses the trash can. And he can't stand it that he missed it. So he goes and picks it up and does it again and makes sure he makes it. And it wasn't like being playful. It was like he was pissed off that he couldn't get that right. And that says, to me, it sums up kind of how his attitude is. He is really kind of a perfectionist. And he doesn't have, to me, the most accurate, the strongest arm, but he's extremely, to me, consistent, both in his playability. The only thing that I have concern is he's got this loaf of bread carry that he does every once in a while where he fumbles it. And I can't figure out why all of a sudden that started. And I didn't watch him enough at Mississippi State to know if that was a regular occurrence with him. But I don't like it. I think in the NFL, players are taught to hit the ball whenever available.
Yeah.
So I just don't think it's something you can do.
These guys are so much better than the college players because you're talking
their
about
awareness. It's top notch. Yeah. I mean, in college, you're trained to get to the man. And in the NFL, you're trained to hone in on the ball, forget where the guy is.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like someone throws the ball in the stands, all the players just swarm the stands, destroying the fans trying to get to the ball, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
that sounds like it would be a bit of a story in the NFL.
Yeah. So if I got the Eagles at number 2, I'm gonna put the Pats at number 1. I still think you have to dethrone the Pats.
They're the defending champs. Yeah. They're the 6-time champs.
And last year I had it in reverse. I had the Eagles still on top until they showed me otherwise. And they did in the beginning. I got to admit, I was laughing my ass off in the beginning of last season because I was like, man, the Eagles have folded like a lawn chair. What happened?
Yeah,
but, you put in Foles in the end, and the Foles magic.
Somebody's saying, man, the Eagles are going to be one of the worst defending Super Bowl champions of all time.
Yeah. It was looking that way for a while. So talking on the Eagles, last week we talked about what the record we think will be. Let's say they win. Who do you think they face on the other side of that ball if they make it to the Super Bowl again?
Look, the Patriots are right there. I tell you, the Colts, the Chiefs, those are teams I think that are right there in the AFC. But in the end,
I think it's Chiefs or Pats next year again.
Yeah,
I think
it's
Steelers are I don't even have them in the top 10 because I think they're going to be coming back from a hangover dramatic,
That's the thing with the whole drama, the dramatics of Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. Like, I think that franchise as a whole is going to be okay. They moved on from them.
Mhm.
But I think the 2019 season is going to be one of those lost seasons where, like, years down the road, people were talking about, yeah, they were great in 2018, they were great in 2020, 21. And someone says, what about 2019? And everybody stops. We don't talk about 2019.
It's like you take off your dog mask. You're like, did you just say 2019? This motherfucker just said 29. Get him out of here. Get a rope.
Get up.
Yeah, so I think it's going to come down between the Cowboys, Saints, and I don't think the Rams are going to be. I think it's going to be Cowboys, Saints, Eagles. I
Yeah,
think the
I think those are
Cowboys
the three best
will be.
teams.
I think the Cowboys will be outcoached. I'm starting to
Okay.
show a lot of my hate for Garrett, and I actually like Garrett. Just not. He's just not. He's the Tony Dungy of the Buccaneers. He took us to a
He's
certain
a nice
point.
guy, but
Yeah, no, he is. He's actually highly intelligent. He's great. He's a great offensive minder. I just don't think he surrounds himself. I don't think
right.
he's the best at picking talent. He's not good at putting his cabinet together, in my opinion. I just don't always like his cabinet that he has. A lot of that Jerry Jones interference. I do like the fact that Garrett has handled Jerry Jones' personality well. I don't know how much you hear about it. There's been times he's locked him out of the locker room.
Yeah.
And I like stuff like that because you've got to be like that with Jerry Jones. You got to be a lot like Bill Parcells was with him.
Yeah, and Jerry will respect you for doing that.
Right. Not at first. At first, it'll be a throwdown.
Sure.
And then, Jerry will be like, all right, I'm going to go be with my, those teenage girls in the locker room, like the photos I had a couple of years ago, and I'll leave you alone. But I think I think Jerry's one of those guys you got to push back with the Eagles. I think the Eagles are just as good as they want to be. I think the Eagles are the only people that can beat the Eagles are the Eagles.
Right.
And what I wonder is without a Nick, if Wentz goes down again, if he gets injured again, that's 3 years in a row, and you don't have a guy like Nick Foles to back you up, I think there is no savior anymore. I think Nick Foles was a special case. I think without him, it's just like the Cowboys don't have if Dak goes down or if Zeke goes down, we're pretty much screwed too. But I think
the Eagles.
Who is your backup?
Was Nate Sudfeld is the backup.
Yeah, never heard of him. All right. Yeah. Okay. Oh man, that's gotta be like I remember me and you discussing that letting Nick Foles go and whether that was a good idea to fight for him and take cap room from other places to hold on to him. I would have done it until the magic wasn't there anymore. I would have kept him another year, gave him $25 million if he would have took it, like seeing if I could have negotiated and got him to stay and cut another player if I had to keep them. I always want the current package if I can keep it rolling. Of course, that's hard to compete with when other teams are like, hey, we'll give you $35 million a year or $31 million.
And you get a chance to start.
Yeah. And I don't know, how that conversation went. I don't know if there was in the press up there, if they talked about that at all, but.
Oh, sure. There was a lot of conversation about it.
Did Nick Foles consider staying, or was he kind of like he got an offer and he's like, all right, I got to take that?
Well, he knew he wanted to be a starter, and he knew that wasn't going to happen here.
Yeah.
And so, and they had talked about it, and the Eagles had said, look, we wanted to keep him, but we also understood he deserved, with what he's done and what he did for this franchise, he deserved his opportunity to be a starting quarterback somewhere.
Do you think Nick Foles has, and I know he's on the Jaguars, so not the same success, obviously, that he had with the Eagles, but do you think he has success with the Jaguars?
I want to root for him, but I feel like it's one of those things where his magic works in one spot, and that's here. I don't think that magic translates over to Jacksonville, or just like when you took him out of this element the first time and he went to the Rams and it was a complete disaster. I mean, I'm hoping it's not on that level, like the way he was with the Rams, but I don't think he recaptures it. Like everybody talks about, well, Wentz hasn't stayed healthy. Wentz hasn't played 16 games in a season, which that's not true. His rookie year, he did play 16, but would somebody please tell me when the last time Nick Foles played 16 games in a season? Give up? Never.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So obviously, do we both have the Patriots number one?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Patriots number one.
And what's your reason? If they weren't defending champs, would you?
Sure.
Would you still have them? Let's say they had lost last year against the Rams. Where would you place them? Same place?
Probably, yeah. I
You
mean,
think revenge tour?
yeah,
Would be
that Tom Brady's a bad man.
nah, overrated. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with. I go with the Pats, and not even so much Brady anymore. I just think Belichick just has a fix on the NFL where he understands the game so well that you literally just can't count the dude out.
He's playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
yeah, that's a good. Well, I
So
say connect. I say connect four. I think checkers is even a step up for a lot of the NFL coaches compared to him.
to me,
Um,
what really pointed out to me how great a coach he was, and I'll take everybody in the way back machine to 2005. Well, it was February 2005
right.
when the Eagles and Patriots are playing in Super Bowl 39. And I remember Freddie Mitchell goes on ESPN and is talking smack, and they ask him, "Hey, can you name the players on the in the Patriots secondary?" And he couldn't name any of them. And he said, he's like, "I know their numbers," and he spouted them off. And he's like, "In 37 Harrison, I got something for you." And then Rodney Harrison comes on. And he's just like, "Well, here's a guy. He was a first round pick, can't crack their starting lineup," and goes on all about Freddie Mitchell's stats. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, "Gee, Freddie Mitchell didn't even know their names. Rodney Harrison, they sure know a lot about you." Like that just says to me, they're just on another level, and I think that's all coaching.
I think it is too. I mean, obviously, no one's going to say discount Brady. I just think Brady is like a given now. I think
Yeah,
Belichick. I think after the Eagles beat them, people question like, okay, he pulled Butler. Is he slipping a
dynasty.
little
Yeah,
bit? Is he getting a little too strict to where newer teams are able to take advantage of that or whatnot? And I think he reestablished himself last year. I mean, against technically the most clever team, I guess, is considered in the NFL is the Rams with their tricks and trades.
yeah, they were always, you wondered when the trick plays were coming, and the Patriots just had an answer for all of it.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting if the Patriots and the Eagles were to have a rematch. It'd be
Oh,
round
I
number 3. It'd be the
love it.
deciding out of the 3 series.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think if the Eagles are in good health, I think it'd be a pretty even match. I think if Wentz is injured, obviously I think it's
Oh,
well.
well,
First,
yeah.
I don't even think they make it, but let's say they did, I think they'd get murdered without Wentz.
Well, yeah,
But
like say if Wentz got injured in the NFC title game and they ended up
yeah,
making.
I have a lot. I even said, I thought the Cowboys should have took a good look at Wentz too.
Mm-hmm.
That year. I think
I
Wentz
remember us
was
having that conversation. Yeah.
Wentz was a solid pick. And honestly, someone had asked me a couple of days ago if I thought Wentz would be a better quarterback Cowboy. I said no, because Zeke and Dak and Dunk, as they call them, Zeke and Dak have this weird, like almost like they're dudes hanging out and sleeping in a bunk bed at night, telling each other, "Okay, tomorrow here's what we're gonna do." Like I feel like they're like this little duo.
Yeah, they
Um,
had like this symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that got established in that preseason game against the Seahawks. I think that's what set them together. When Chancellor was calling out Zeke, like bring it, and Zeke's like, I'm gonna bust you in your face, and they were like two bucks bunking heads on every play. And I think that established the toughness of Zeke. I think Dak was flawless in that preseason game, and I think they gained respect. And they said, I think they took a look at each other and said, "Hey, if we can actually do what we're doing right now in the regular season, who can't we compete with?" And then Jason Garrett's like, "Well, nobody as long as I'm coach. Nobody good as long as I'm coach." Like
Right.
last year, I can't tell you how many times I threw something at the TV playing the Rams. I'm like, they physically got their ass kicked up and down the field. I didn't want them. I was like, you know what? We deserve to lose. And I'm not one of those fans that's a bullshit call. No, we deserved
Right.
to lose,
Right.
but we came within 8 by the end of the game because we actually started playing ball. And I'm like, wow, if you could have played like that from the first quarter, the Rams would have never beat y'all. It would have been basically a throwdown. I personally don't think the Rams are that good. I think the Rams are tricky. And I think they got lucky with Mr. Bowling Ball running back. All of a sudden they went
Yeah.
from Todd Gurley to a bowling ball. Jerome Bettis like running game, and people were like just not ready for it. They're up their middle was getting gutted by him.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. But like you said, the Cowboys, they really pushed it into gear, towards the end of that game. And man, it's a shame if the game was maybe one more quarter, I think the Cowboys could have gotten them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's it for our show. Any closing
Yeah.
words, Eric?
Well, Everett, I appreciate everybody tuning in. You can check us out all over, obviously here on YouTube. We appreciate you following us. Give us a like, a follow, join us on the Facebook and all the other stuff with the Phillyverse. We just want everybody to be a big part of the show. Appreciate everybody, and tune in on Facebook Live tomorrow. I'll have Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, a wrestling podcast for everybody to
Nice.
check out.
Nice.
So,
If you guys
yeah.
got any comments, leave your 5 teams you think are the best down below. And if anybody ever wants to be a guest on the show, we're always open to having people jump on and join in the argument. I mean, we're Eagles and Cowboys fans, so sometimes
Yeah.
having a fan coming in to break up the lawn chairs that we throw at each other and squirt bottles and beer bottles and all that stuff that we throw at each other. Phil Carr. Anyway, see you guys next time.
All right. Happy football, everybody.